It's me. Yep. Okay, another response video to another idiot about stupid stuff. Yay. Anyway, Poodlesusan and Inmendham regarding ethics. Yeah, so, whatever. Wayward guy is going to tell us how the world works. Fun.
Alrighty, so, you know, when I closed my original channel, my Wayward Horizons channel, and opened up this one, you know, with my real name, the whole point of it was to kind of avoid getting involved in, or not the whole point, but part of the point was to avoid getting involved in petty YouTube drama.
Yeah, whatever. Liar. Yeah, okay, good enough, right? Yeah, let's start off with a lie. Yeah, everybody believes you.
But unfortunately, it seems I once again find myself involved in petty YouTube drama.
Yeah, it started by you, by saying inane things that are answered in the very video you're commenting on, which just makes you kind of an asshole. But go ahead, play along.
Even though that wasn't my intention to begin with, I was just trying to have a discussion, but apparently I'm an asshole for trying to do that, and I'm trying to shit stir or something like that.
Well, you know, let's understand another context here. Every Saturday night I do this debate room, right? Every Saturday night. And this guy has been a regular for a couple of months. And if he had some sort of concern about the fact that I have what's known as, yeah, an understanding of reality, that there is a reality, and that value is part of reality, then he could have brought it up at any one of those nights, and he never did. How come?
I'm not gonna. I'll get into that a little bit later. I want to talk about two things in this video. I want to talk about the discussion that Poodlesusan and I had regarding objective morality versus moral nihilism or moral relativism, and then I want to address...
Well, so let's understand, moral relativism is just the silliest idea. Relative to what? Any stupid idea works, right? No, the relativism would be something, one would hope that you'd say, here's two ideas, ours and theirs. I will compare these two ideas. Okay, you could do that with like Nazi Germany and America, or say, just pick any country really, you know. And you say, what ideas makes more sense? What ideas got more logic behind it? Integrity, rationally, sensibly. You know, so I mean, relative to what? What? Being sensible, right? Yes, sensible, demonstratable, provable. And obviously that comes down to axioms or premises. But, yeah, I mean, I haven't hidden my premises. 6 years I've been saying the same shit.
Gary a little bit, because he made a video clearly not pleased with the comment I left on his video yesterday, I believe it was. So I'll go ahead and just take it from the beginning. This all started on a video Skep made in reply to Just a Car. I believe they were talking about men's rights, and just kind of sort of getting into the whole topic of rights in general. And so...
Yes, and understand that skeptical heretic is saying the nature of the rights involved in these relationships that produce children ends up being the rights of the child. That's what we as a society have decided, is that the child comes first.
Somebody left a comment on Skep's video asking him if he believed in rights without laws, and Skep said no. And Poodlesusan came onto that comment thread and started arguing that rights are pre-existing things that are mapped out by laws. In other words, the very concept of rights is inherent within reality, and the only purpose of laws is to map out these rights. And this is something
yeah, we recognize logically the truth, and then we efficiently do something about it, in the sense that you recognize how streams go downhill and that they have mass, and that you can collect the energy from the stream as it goes down the hill. So you do this logical efficiency calculation that you can extract very clean energy by trapping the water. Yeah.
Talks about a lot in her video, this whole map territory concept, which is not an unreasonable concept in and of itself. Basically, map territory states that, you know, there is a reality, right, the territory. And then there is our understanding or interpretation of that reality, which is the map, which is a perfectly reasonable way to look at things, in my opinion.
Yeah, then why did you leave a comment saying, I don't understand it? Yeah, okay.
Because, yeah, we are, as human beings, we are imprisoned by our egos, and we cannot know 100% for certain what reality is, or we cannot know an objective reality.
Well, whatever. Again, you want to make that statement, it's a claim by you. I'm saying there are facts we can discern from reality, and they'll be facts forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And yeah, we got some of them wrong when we were still cavemen, okay? But recently, the fact machine has been pretty reliable, that 99% of this stuff doesn't change over time. No. The world will remain a globe in space. It will never be flat ever again.
We can only attempt to understand it, and that's why we engage in conversations about philosophy.
Yeah, whatever. You can only engage in understanding it. I mean, this, again, understanding what? Yes, nothing's permanent, but, I mean, the function can be described accurately. To say that we can't obtain accurate descriptions of things is just made-up nonsense. Says you. Prove the world is something other than how it's been described, as a massive body orbiting the sun. There's no indication of something else happening. That's what it's doing.
And so her argument is that this whole concept of rights somehow exists inherent within reality, and the whole point of the map, or laws, you know, laws being the map in this case, is to map these things out so people...
Right. So if you map out, like, this idea of a fireman or something, you map out some idea of an EMS worker or something. You map out, this is what the appropriate thing to do is, okay? So if there's a car accident, you send somebody there who has some sort of medical training to triage and take care of the patient and get them to a hospital. Now the map is perfectly consistent with what we understand the problem to be. There's human broken. We need to get human broken to repair shop, okay, without human broken becoming dead human. There, we mapped it out. We fixed the problem. We diagnosed the problem. We created a band-aid for the problem. Band-aid. simple metaphor, right? We mapped out a solution to a problem. We identified the problem. Oh, the skin has been punctured. The fluid is flying out. The thing with the fluid isn't going to be any good with its fluid flying out. We can understand that. We can understand that in a million circumstances, that leaking fluid is likely not a good idea. If it ain't coming out of the hole it's supposed to come out of, it's not good.
People understand that they exist. So Skep and I asked her where these... I've got notes here, because if I don't have notes I can't make a coherent video. So Skep and I asked her where these rights come from and how they could have got there without the presence of an ideal observer, i.e. God. And this is something that kind of bothers me about the whole...
What would the ideal observer be doing that would be any different than what we're doing by mapping it? They would be mapping it. The ideal observer would be a map maker. He would describe what he sees. He would say, this is what I see. This is what I identify as a problem. This is what I identify as a solution. The same procedure would take place. The point is, we don't need ideal observers, we just need good observers. And we're capable of being good observers now. We have enough competence to be careful and good observers. We can't see everything, we can't know everything, but we don't need to, because it's really a simple game. You don't need to know how to play chess to learn what chess is. You can see somebody, you can watch the game and understand the game. You can, especially checkers. And I'm saying our reality is fucking checkers. You watch 3 or 4 minutes of people playing checkers and you know how checkers is played. Shit.
Position of objective morality is, I'm an atheist, so obviously I believe that there is no God, there is no intelligent creator, that in fact the earth and everything that lives on it was constructed by unintelligent natural forces.
So, and that means that there's no phenomenon that could have any significance whatsoever, because a crude system of not necessarily coherently organized processes and forces evolves through time. It necessitates the impossibility that anything of substance could be created. No, it doesn't. That's why we exist, is because such a thing wasn't impossible. And once it happens, then we can understand that there's a value in now, because there's something that's important in the universe now. There's sentience. And again, I would argue it's the only thing of value. So again, focus your attention to the claim. The claim isn't that there's a bunch of different values. No, the claim is there's one thing made out of value. One kind of precious commodity. And it's being controlled by crude forces. And the argument simply is, let's make the forces that control the precious commodity less crude. It's logic.
Which have no concept whatsoever of morality. So if that's the case, how could there be objective rights, or rights that exist inherent in reality, when the world was not crafted by forces that even have a
Right, so again, he's just arguing that nothing precious, nothing valuable, nothing meaningful, nothing significant could exist in any universe that wasn't created on purpose by some psychology, which is just a silly notion. And it's preposterously silly once we know about evolution on this planet. Quite obviously, something distinctly different happened here. We know the difference between organisms that are sentient and organisms that are not sentient. We treat them very differently, so let's not pretend we don't understand the value.
Concept of it, if that makes sense. I mean, it sounds a lot like a religious argument to me, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So
yeah, you won't even come close to that. That's just a cheap slander because you're so desperate, okay? You're the one with some sort of understanding of some sort of meaning derived out of what? Human ego? Where, you know, your confidence is based on what then? Huh? Nothing? Oh. You can't tell that there's a difference between something in pain and something in pleasure? Interesting. You're stupid then.
We ask her this question, where do they come from? And she basically, in several or so comments, goes off on, you know, all these tangents about map territory and how, you know, using biology as an example between, you know, the mechanism of biology and our understanding of biology, the subject of biology.
You know, what she attempts to explain is that we can dissect functionality out of things. We can look at something, see how it works, and see what degrades its working. And so that's one way of determining purpose and function, and something that's anti-function. In the case of human beings, function is comfort, dysfunction is discomfort. So that would be the argument.
But she doesn't answer this question straight. She keeps insisting on the map territory argument, not explaining how it applies to the realm of ethics, because from where I'm standing, the concept of ethics is entirely conceptual. It did not exist. This concept of good and bad did not even exist, you know, before we came along.
Right, so that means that there was no value equation before humans existed. So when dinosaurs were eating each other and they screamed in horror, there was nothing that something intelligent would be obligated to be disturbed by. They shouldn't see any misfunction or malfunction in the fact that these organisms were basically in a fight where they're killing each other. You know, if they had one of them, you know, has got his teeth on the other guy's balls, and the other guy's got his teeth on the other guy's balls, and they're ready to rip each other's balls off, no intelligence could say, hey, wait a minute, guys, stop that. That's not going to do one of you any good. You're just going to hurt each other. Intelligence couldn't do that. Couldn't figure out there was a problem. Couldn't figure out there's something to worry about, something to be concerned about. It didn't exist because there wasn't an intelligence observing it. Therefore, it didn't happen. If there was no human beings, and yet there was something you considered valuable, like Jews and Nazis, okay, they still exist, but let's say they're in some sort of not perfectly human form. They still suffer, but they're not in a perfectly human form. And they have 17 Holocausts. And then you, humans, show up for the 18th Holocaust. So the 18th time that the Jews are in the concentration camps and the Nazis are torturing them, then it matters because humans are here. But it didn't matter the other 17 times. Come on. Fuck you. It's idiotic.
To conceive of it. So I'm genuinely trying to understand where she's coming from. I mean, it'd be nice if I was wrong. It would be nice if I was wrong. It'd probably make me feel a little bit less depressed about the reality I live in, seeing it as mostly just a valueless mush.
Well, again, I mean, that's really cute. You see it as a valueless mush. I mean, really, you can't tell the difference then. So from your perspective, I mean, I wish I could be nihilistic about it. I wish I could say it doesn't matter. But I know it matters. I know every single sentient thing, tormented or tortured on this planet, matters. How not thinking it matters, how would that make my life worse? If I didn't care and I didn't think there was horrific, no way to even, you couldn't even build a bucket big enough to hold it, of absolute horror taking place. And you're telling me not knowing, not believing that horror mattered is somehow a burden for you? You think it's more fun to recognize the value of it? Man, you're really dumb.
General. But, yeah, so I was genuinely trying to understand where she was getting this from, and no matter how many times I asked for clarification, she just could not give me, or Skep for that matter, a straight answer.
Well, what did you expect her to say? Suffering sucks? I mean, I mean, maybe she just didn't anticipate that you need to be informed that humans are capable, animals are capable of two kinds of sentient experience, horrifically repulsive and comforting. And that we know the difference between those two. One is preferable, one is unpreferable, and it's preferable and unpreferable intrinsically. By very definition.
And then it moves on to another video, which is a video she made in reply to that whole comment section. And this is where it gets a little bit annoying, okay? So she also argues that moral relativism / nihilism, now just for clarification, I am not a moral relativist, but I am a moral nihilist. There is a distinction between the two.
Yeah, colossal idiot versus just idiot. I mean, really, moral nihilism is just, it's too insipid for conversation. It just is. Because I could prove you a liar, simply enough. I mean, just give me the electrodes and some, free time alone, and I'll prove to you you're not a moral nihilist.
She claims that these positions are contradictory positions because they state that there are no absolute moral truths while being absolute statements themselves, right? So, it's quite clear anybody who knows anything, even just a cursory knowledge of the realm of ethics, will know that there is a difference between meta-ethics and normative ethics. And she does...
Oh, whatever. A contrived difference. So good luck with that. Yeah, that's going to explain the hypocrisy of your arrogance. You're allowed to be arrogant, other people aren't. Oh, we get it. Yeah, you have a rule. No arrogance allowed, except for me.
Not understand that moral relativism / nihilism are meta-ethical positions that describe normative positions, right? So, since they describe the nature of normative ethics, but they don't describe the nature of meta-ethics themselves, right? So basically my philosophy, moral nihilism basically states that there are no normative truths. Moral relativism is more like the moral...
Right, so there's no truth. Normative truth is sort of irrelevant, isn't it? I mean, to qualify your statement, you're saying there's no accurate definition of anything that could possibly be meaningful in the universe. That there is, in fact, nothing meaningful. That if every human being on Earth were horrifically and brutally and slowly, tortured to death, it would mean absolutely nothing if the alternative was not that. Those two choices there's no rational reason to pick one over the other. And that, in my opinion, is just too silly for conversation. It is more preposterously nonsensical than the silliest of religious theories. It is the baddest drawn cartoon on the face of the fucking earth. It's just too idiotic. I mean, personal experience proves otherwise. There's absolutely no fucking way I could rationally tell myself it doesn't matter what condition I'm in, comfortable or uncomfortable. There's just no rationally way I could possibly see any circumstance where I would choose voluntarily with no strings attached. Just I have a choice of being comfortable or horribly uncomfortable, and I would choose to be horribly uncomfortable. Nothing gained, no extra anything, just two things. I'll either be horribly comfortable for the next hour or horribly uncomfortable. I mean, tremendously comfortable or horribly uncomfortable. And you're saying that's not a truth. It's not a truth that is perfectly rational for me to choose comfort over discomfort. That is it's insanely stupid. It is insane. I'm sorry. You're insane.
The normative truths are relative depending on the individual and the circumstance, or something along those lines. I don't have a clear understanding of moral relativism, but I think that's pretty much the gist of it. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter because you say you're a moral nihilist, so there is nothing of value. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's just so ludicrous a premise to exist in this world with that attitude. It's just where could you possibly find evidence of it not mattering? You think this is the same as this. This is the same as this in terms of its value. This is just as precious. Crazy.
But the whole point is that moral nihilism and moral relativism exist within an entirely separate branch of ethics than normative ethics. So these two meta-ethical...
Well, whatever. You're either describing the truth or you're fucking talking out of your ass, and I know which one you're doing.
Positions are describing normative ethics, not meta-ethics. So there is no contradiction. Now, if I were to hold a position like a postmodernist position that were to say that everything is relative, like if I had
Yeah, well, look, anytime you make a statement, all right, asshole, you really can't say that everybody can just make up the truth, which you're saying, and then argue for a truth. Yeah, that's a hypocrisy. Yeah, that's what it is.
A position that said meta-ethics was relative, then you'd be getting into contradictory realms. But there is nothing contradictory about holding that a meta-ethical position is an absolute, because it has nothing, because it is not itself a normative position, it is a meta-ethical position, right?
Well, again, what's the fucking point? You're either describing reality or you're not. If you're not describing a reality, then who the fuck cares? You're irrelevant. Your commentary is irrelevant. Meta-ethical, what does that even mean? It doesn't even mean anything. It's a non-concept from anybody who's looking for a description of reality. Meta is not a description of reality. So go away.
So no contradiction. And I explained this to her several times, and she just didn't understand. Either she didn't understand, or she didn't read my comments, or she just couldn't comprehend this. I don't know what the hell was going on. It was like there was this there was like a brick wall, you know, in our communication where the ideas we were passing back and forth to each other were not getting through, right?
Yeah, look, the simple sentence is you're saying it's the truth that there is no truth. I mean, it's on its face contradictory. Can't you understand that? You're telling me you're right, that there's no truth. And I'm saying, no, you're wrong, that there is no truth. Get it? I mean, you can't sit there and tell me that there is no truth and then tell me you know that that's the truth. It just doesn't make any sense.
And, you know, I explained this to her multiple times, you know, no contradiction. Meta-ethical position, normative positions, right? There's a difference between the two, and when just because I state a meta-ethical position that states that there are no normative truths, there's nothing contradictory about that. They're two separate branches of philosophy, and I tried to explain this to her, and she just didn't understand. And it was fucking frustrating.
Well, again, you're the one in the impossible circumstance, okay? There's no such thing as having a relative description, you know, an individual getting to say that my hand has 6 fingers on it when it has 5 fingers on it, okay? The premise here is that you can't take something that is, okay, and then describe it in any way you want to. And that's the rule you're breaking. You're saying that's okay. And the very fact that you're saying that with a statement where by your own rules you can't say it because you've already conceded that somebody can say I have 6 fingers and it's okay. I'm supposed to believe that. So you are saying it as an assertion by your own rules, that everybody's allowed to assert something that's not true and claim it to be the truth. But you're saying no, all statements are shit. So your statement about all statements being shit is shit. It just happens that you can't avoid the consequences of the rules of your own fucking statement, that there is no reality. Idiot. In a place where there is no reality, you can't make distinctions between meta-ethics and... Can't do that.
And, you know, let me be honest. I like Poodlesusan, okay? I think she is a decent person. I think that she is a reasonably intelligent person, but
yeah, incredibly patronizing from whatever. Let's come up with some kind of little squarmy name for you. Gumby? No. Pokey? No. Some cartoon character.
Find conversation with her very frustrating because it seems like there's this block in communication where her and I just are not able to understand each other's arguments, and I wish there was some way I could get around that, because I would like to continue this discussion without it devolving into a name-calling fest, which it was coming quite close to last night.
Yeah, because you're an insulting, arrogant, obnoxious, weaselly piece of fucking deceptive shit. Yeah, nobody should like you. Yeah, you're just such a game player.
Anyway, so now moving on to Gary. I left a comment on Gary's video, the one that he made kind of talking about Skep and Poodlesusan's whole conversation, which he took great exception to, and actually made a video, you know, calling me, insisting, you know, saying I'm a drama whore, you know, I don't pay attention, you know, all this stuff. And, you know, he's obviously very angry with me, and that's fine. I kind of was expecting it, considering I'm espousing a philosophy that he deems, I don't know, morally reprehensible or something, or
imbecilic. Okay, yeah, that's right. And I state it with the highest of authority. If you can't figure out the difference between feeling good and feeling bad, and if you think somebody's just making it up when they say, oh, it feels good to feel good and it feels bad to feel bad, they're just making that up. I don't know how you get more connected. Feeling bad feels bad. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's too fucking stupid.
Basically, he sees moral nihilism or moral relativism as the enemy of everything he stands for.
It's the enemy of anything. Anything that has any value in the universe. Obviously, you're a threat to it. Anything that is in fact precious, anything that is in fact a victim, anything that is in fact mistreated, abused, in any way exposed to harm, this word harm. Yes, you are the fucking villain. That's right, because you're not acknowledging its existence. And by not acknowledging the fact that the gas is expensive, you're going to waste it. There's no doubt about it. If you don't acknowledge, if you had no conception of value, right, then yeah, you'd gold plate your toilet, or let's just take all the value, let's find something. I mean, I'm trying to think of material values, but yeah, you just waste the commodity. You would waste it. Okay, it's like having a bunch of penicillin. You didn't realize that it could save people's lives. You'd be sitting there shooting baskets with it or something. You'd use it for your own entertainment. You'd squander it because you had no appreciation for its power to comfort people. You fucking idiot. So yeah, of course I think you're a menace.
So I was kind of expecting it, right? So yeah, obviously Gary, yeah, I can see you're angry with me. That's fine. I'm whatever. I don't really care that much. I don't expect.
Yeah, well, of course you don't care. You don't care about anything. So of course you don't care. You're a fucking value nihilist. You've said it, okay? I mean, right, because value would define morality in my book. So fuck you, right? Of course you don't care. How could you possibly care when you don't acknowledge the existence of anything valuable in the universe, you stupid fuck? What would be the point of caring then, really? If I knew everything I cared about was a fraud and a fake, that none of it had any character or meaning, then yeah, that would make the whole thing really stupid.
It's whatever. It's just, it is what it is. Let's see here. Now, I'm not going to talk anymore about the situation with Skep and what his motivations may or may not have been for having a child. I have my own opinions, but I'm going to keep them to myself. I'm going to let him speak for himself. And I'm not going to speak on his behalf because it's...
Yeah, because you already did it, and you're put yourself out on a limb, and you're probably going to look like an asshole because you're probably talking out of your ass about him.
It's not really my place. But I do want to address... I'm not going to address the whole of your video, just because there's really no point. I don't expect to change your mind with anything I'm saying here.
That's the first reasonable thing you've said. That's right. Yeah, I've been doing this on YouTube for 7 years now, whatever it is. You didn't change anything. That's right. It's not even going to come close because there's no way you could compose a rational argument in defense of your silly nonsense about how the Holocaust didn't matter.
I know you better than that. I know there is no changing your mind. You find the whole concept of mind changing offensive for whatever reason.
No, I find it offensive that you assholes think I should change my mind as you drool on yourselves. Right? You don't make a rational argument, okay? You cut fairies out of paper, all right? And stick, Twinkie cream up your nose. And then tell me somehow I'm supposed to be impressed. Oh, that was a great argument. No, I'm sorry, it wasn't. It was idiotic.
But that's fine, whatever. And I don't have any more desire to start any more shit with you over this, right? But anyway, so I did want to address one thing you said though, or a couple things that you mentioned in your video, and hopefully it'll give me a chance to maybe clarify myself a little bit better. You mentioned, your whole mantra that suffering sucks, right? And
you're calling it a mantra. I mean, really. Yeah, water is wet. Oh, it's a mantra. It's a silly religious notion. Yeah. Oh, I mean, you people are hilarious.
While it is true that suffering is a negative,
No, you can't use that word. You can't say I'm a moral nihilist and then use the word negative. It's just nonsensical. Alright? Morality is based on a recognition of value. Is it based on something else? I mean, morality in the sense of, I don't use the word morality. You've chosen to use that word. Me and Poodlesusan both prefer the word ethics, and I prefer the word value. So you can't use the word negative when you say there's no value. You can't do that.
Negative inherently as a sensation, right? It is described as a negative sensation. How it ultimately affects the individual and those around them and what they take away from it,
that's irrelevant. I mean, you can do that math all over the place, right? You can say that somebody was happy and they were having a happy day and they weren't looking around, and then the piano falls down on them because they were happy. So therefore happy is bad. No, happy's not bad, because pianos sometimes fall on happy people. Okay, and being miserable isn't good, because sometimes being miserable prevents some greater misery. Alright, so that's irrelevant. The real argument is that the value, and then you can do the math once you've established the value. So here you are saying you're a moral nihilist, and then you're conceding, by using the word negative, that you're conceding the existence of the value. So you're really not arguing about the existence of value, you're arguing about the mathematics of value.
It is all that matters in determining whether it was ultimately a good or a bad for said individual, at least as I see things. The sensation itself does not, nor should it, establish objective truths, right?
Establish what objective truth? Every single time I've brought the subject of, I said in and of itself, when I made the argument advocating for the existence of the value, I've always talked about in and of itself, separate from any consequential actions. Every single time I've been careful to do that, but because you're a skanky little bastard, you'll forget that I've done that. Because you suck.
Furthermore, I do not accept that principles such as fairness, are set in stone principles. Nor do
Again, where's that written? So where did I set the principles of fairness in stone? I argued for the idea that fairness is what gives something credibility. I didn't tell you what fairness looks like or the exact description of fairness, did I? No, I didn't. What I said is you certainly can't create it in the creation of the human game. In having children, you can't apply fairness. There's absolutely, I mean, you can't possibly be arguing that somehow when a kid is born with a terminal disease, that somehow they got it fairly.
they inhere in reality themselves. And this kind of comes back to what I was talking about with Poodlesusan earlier. If you were going to make this argument, you need to explain how these things could possibly exist in a reality without a God or an intelligent creator. Ethics is an inherently conceptual subject.
Well, again, conceptual, fine, and the conception is merely an acknowledgement of the event. Again, you cannot possibly make an argument to convince me of my own personal experience. I have been a feeling organism for 50 fucking years. I know what feelings are. I know how much I would pay to avoid certain feelings. I know of their intrinsic value. So this is just idiotic. You're not going to convince me that feelings don't have value. It's a silly and idiotic argument. No chance whatsoever.
At least, again, as I see things. So if you're going to, again, like I've mentioned before, I cannot understand this whole, I don't understand where this comes from, this whole idea that there is somehow morality adhering.
Again, you keep using the word morality. Right now, you're just ignoring the fact that I keep saying don't use the word morality, and then you'll understand. So just instead of using the word morality, then say to me, I can't understand how you associate value with sentient qualitative states. Okay, so you're telling me you don't understand how I associate value designations to qualitative sensate states. So when feeling organisms feel, the fact that I apply a qualitative value to those feelings, good, bad, and then relatively speaking different levels of that good or bad, that somehow you don't understand. I'm sure you do understand, but it just doesn't fit with your whatever game you're playing with your own psychology. to evade responsibility for your life or something, whatever you're trying to do, to say somehow you don't have to worry about it. Well, that's your business, but it's not rational business. It's not logical business.
In reality, you know, it makes absolutely no sense to me. How did it get there? How
did value get there? It got there through the invention of consciousness. Somewhere in our evolutionary history, an organism went psychologically, it didn't say the word ouch, but psychologically it went, ow. That's when it started. Okay, it felt a repulsive sensation, an obnoxious sensation, and it now was the whip was invented. Yeah, and the carrot is merely taking the whip away.
Get there without something to put it there. You know, that's...
Evolution put it there. It's a motivational mechanism. Clearly it works. It highly motivates. I could highly motivate you. Trust me. Yeah, very easily.
That's the part that confuses me.
No, it's not confusing. We see it every day in the actions of every mammal on this planet. They're highly motivated by what they know will be, okay, the reward and punishment game.
And another thing I want to bring up before I bring this video to a close is even if these truths are inherent in reality, even if I were to grant you that...
Oh, there, okay, he's going to grant me that feeling things feel and that those feelings matter. Oh, super.
How are people able to go against these quote-unquote objective truths without consequence? So, for example, if slavery is an inherent wrong, why has it been considered an acceptable practice for thousands of years?
Considered by who an acceptable practice? The people who were immune from the harm of being a slave. Gee, that's just so stupid. Yeah, that's really stupid. You know, all you pro-lifers, and I'll throw you in that category just for the fun of it, you haven't died yet. Yet you keep voting for dying, right? You haven't died yet, but you're voting for it, right? And you haven't even done it, right? Now, isn't that kind of funny? That, yeah, I guess people would be kind of, oh yeah, well, maybe it's okay. It might be a fun ride. I can only say so theoretically because I haven't done it yet. Well, for me personally, I've seen some people die, okay? And it ain't fucking pretty. So, fuck you. At least you're going to get yours.
And how have these people been able to carry out slavery without any repercussions to themselves, right?
I don't even know what that means. You don't understand might makes right? You don't understand how a tiny minority of people can control entire nations and the entire world? You don't understand the dynamics of power? You don't understand that when somebody's enslaved, you know, their whole family is enslaved? That much of how slavery, you know, how did they keep the slaves on the plantation without fences? You know, they did it because they had a gun to their fucking wives and kids' heads. That's how they did it. Fear.
Doesn't that very circumstance kind of render the whole point on objective ethics moot if it doesn't really have a bearing on the individuals who violate them? So if
again, so he's saying that somehow because there's no cops to enforce the law, because nature, the DNA molecule, didn't arrest itself, right? Didn't create a police force to arrest it for cruelty to animals, because the nature's justice system didn't show up to save the day. That somehow that proves that nature's innocent. Because obviously if nature was guilty, nature would have made a court and it would have convicted itself and then it would have put itself in jail. I mean, this is just ludicrous. There's no rule that says there's going to be... That's the whole point of what you're so stupid. What do you think fairness, when I say there's no fairness, what do you think that means? That's exactly the point. There's no fairness. There is no deserve. Okay? The guilty are not punished. Amazing. I don't... You know... Humans are too stupid. I can't take it no more. This is it's a madhouse.
Objective ethics doesn't really take precedence over, you know, people's individual belief systems. And what the fuck is the point anyway? Why would we even insist on this thing when it doesn't even seem to have...
You don't insist on it as a thing. All you do is use it to justify, to give your argument, to qualify your argument, to give your argument integrity, logical and empirical integrity. It's an argument, shithead. Okay? It's the point is to persuade people. Or you don't. It's not some magic thing. The truth doesn't just jump up and fly into people's heads. It has to be argued into their heads. You can't even understand that? Fuck.
Have much bearing on civilizations or reality in the first place, right? Anyway.
That didn't even make sense, right? So we don't need to replay that, right? Because that didn't make any sense.
Anyway. I think I covered everything. How long is this video? 14 minutes. It's a little longer than I wanted it to be, but oh well. Anyway, you know, that's basically all I wanted to say. Obviously, Gary's angry with me. You know, we're gonna go through that whole thing where we don't talk to each other for a while. You know, it's whatever. You know, I have, like I said, I have no desire to cause, like, contrary to what you may believe, Gary, I have no desire to start a much...
Whatever, I just can't take this crap seriously anymore, alright? I mean, the argument I've been making for 7 years is not that complicated. I keep arguing the argument's not that complicated. There's just no way you could sit there and spend this time in my room communicating with me and not understand these arguments. So all I can think is that you're just playing some troll game. And that's your choice. Alright? You want to just jump from here to here to here to here, network yourself, or do whatever the fuck you want. Go ahead, but I have no interest in playing this stupid game. Your commentary is too stupid. You've been in my class too long to get it so wrong. So fuck you. You're out of class. Yeah. Go back to kindergarten, buddy.
Drama or shit with you, so this is probably going to be the last time I address you for a while, unless you say something, if you make a response to this and say something that I feel the need to address. You know, otherwise I'm just gonna, you know, propose we stay out of each other's way for the time being. And
that was my preference. I was doing just fine at that. And so fine with me.
I don't know, who knows? Maybe that'll change. It just depends on what happens over the next couple of days, next couple of responses, but we'll see. Anyway, that's all. I'm going to bring this lengthy video to a close. I probably could have made it less wordy, but whatever. Enjoy or not enjoy. Have a good day.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know why you're wishing people good days. Is there such a difference as a good or a bad day? Are you conceding the existence of good days and bad days? And yet no value? It doesn't matter whether it's a good day or a bad day? The word bad and good now don't mean anything? I mean, how far are you going to take this crap? Anyway. Another video. Jesus Christ. Till next time.